obsessed with getting Bulbasaur perfect. And so when I was like 10 or 11, I drew Bulbasaur 150 times until I could get him down perfectly. And then after I drew him 150 times, I could draw any Pokemon after that.
That's awesome.
It was really cool. I still have those drawings too. I could just see it and draw it. But I literally line for line, like I kept doing it over and over and over.
That's the sort of discipline and determination that you have to schedule at our age.
Right, that's so true. I've gained so much COVID weight. I gotta lose weight.
Pizza's actually very, very healthy if it's homemade and you don't add more cheese and meat.
No.
Which is what happened from the first pizza. Everyone was like, more cheese and more meat.
I've heard that people who are celiac or gluten intolerant can generally do sourdough bread.
Sourdough it's more digested because the starter breaks down the stuff for you. It's like any cultured food. It's pre-processed, so it's easier for your system to tolerate it. So, and it used to be that all bread was sourdough bread because that's how people made bread. And if you look at, like, I think 200 years ago, 95% of the diet for Europeans was bread.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah,
but
so
I've had people go to other countries and be like, I can eat bread over there.
Yeah.
I think there's definitely a problem with like the amount of processing we go through with all the bread we have because it has to sit on a shelf and then it has to sit in a warehouse.
I mean, I've seen videos of people talking about like they went to Bulgaria or some like European country and they hated tomatoes, and then someone from Bulgaria was like, here, try one of my tomatoes I grew, and then they ate it and they were like, tomatoes are delicious. I didn't think they tasted like anything.
Yeah, our stuff is very processed for sure.
Yeah. It also makes it really funny when you're reading a manga and the character's like, here, try these convenience store foods I have. They're clearly so much better than your medieval food. And it's like, look, these people have very little to do other than like cook the occasional food they can produce. So they probably make pretty good food. They're probably something better than a convenience store taco.
I think it's so interesting, like how different countries, like what they have at their convenience stores. Like you can find musubi in Hawaii, or like, you know, not sushi, but like, you know, I don't know. I just think it's really cool.
Yeah, totally. It's exciting.
I can't wait till COVID's over so we can all go travel.
I feel so funny when I go to the store nowadays because I look at all the like junk foods and things, which, God, there's a lot of junk food, but I've stopped consuming sugar and caffeine. So I just look at all of it and I'm like, I would feel really bad if I ate that, and I wouldn't enjoy it. But I want something, and there's just tons of stuff.
I want a snack, but I don't want that crap.
I have to make it myself.
Right.
Or have Jesse make it.
Ooh.
Or have like snap peas, like the sugar snap peas. Those are really yum.
Well. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. That's right, to East of Anime, the podcast, where we talk about anime and then occasionally food and stuff like that. Hey, how you doing today? Hey, Alan, how's it going?
Good. How are you?
Good. Very good. Groovy. Wunderbar.
Groovy?
Mm-hmm. Just one groovy. Thank you.
Whew, okay.
Bad, how you doing?
Yeah, I'm good. I like stuff. I have a whiteboard. Ignore it. It's fine. The scribbles don't mean much.
That's fair. I do not have a whiteboard.
I just have a lot of manga or anime behind me.
Oh, you watch anime?
Wall scrolls. I got wall scrolls.
Weird. Well, welcome, guys. So, hey, how's it going? So today we're going to be talking about the anime of the week is Kabaneri of the Iron Fortress.
Oh my gosh, Kabaneri. I need to remember the terms. I keep forgetting Kabani. I remember Kabaneri, but I'm like, how do you shorten that?
Yeah.
Kabani.
Oh, crap.
It's also a little bit fun
to
say Kabani because it's like Chobani, like the ice cream, like the yogurt company.
That's true.
I would like to express. Honey and blueberries in yogurt. Real good. Really works.
That's the Land Illustrious.
What's the land of what?
Solid.
Land of the Illustrious. When we did that one.
Way back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, well, so, Helen, how you doing? What have you been up to this week? Anything exciting?
I have...
Watching anything interesting? I'm eating tiny pickles, by the way.
I have been practicing my writing skills.
Ooh.
I'm going to be writing scripts for...
Really?
For family theater companies, so yeah.
Ooh, that's fun and exciting. That's very fun and exciting.
So hopefully it gets made. We're excited to work as a team. So
Nice.
And I'm an actress in there too, so yay!
Write yourself all the best dialogue.
Oh, I don't want to act in my own. Other people.
Oh, okay. You could be boring then. Brad, how are you doing today?
I like to see what other people bring to the table.
Good. I'm gonna cook more pizza and more mozzarella chicken. Parmesan chicken? Parmesan mozzarella chicken.
I love that. That sounds delicious.
You're making me hungry.
I know. We could... Man, we
I
could
made
do this
my own
all day.
marinara sauce. Homemade marinara.
Dude, okay, so tell you what, and we already talked about this, but I just want to say, so Bad made homemade pizza this week, and it was wonderful. Several times, because we had homemade pizza.
Always put cream cheese on.
Always put cream cheese on your pizza.
I do use cream cheese.
You have to put cream cheese on your pizza. And it was delicious. Absolutely wonderful. He made super thin crust, because super thin crust is the best. Lots of toppings. Oh my god.
Wraps? Oh,
Frap? Wait.
So you always put, instead of mayonnaise or anything, you put cream, like, as the first layer. I learned this from, like, some random place that I went to when I was 18, and, like, I have never gone back. You just do a, like, thin layer of cream cheese around it with a little bit of red wine vinegar.
Fascinating.
The next one, I'm gonna do a stuffed crust with, the cream cheese will be in the crust with some jalapenos, so it'll be like a proper crust. And then I'm gonna try because I haven't gotten the crust to cook properly on the top, so I'm gonna try putting some butter over the top around the outside of the crust.
I do think
because people shouldn't ignore the crust. If they're ignoring the crust, you've
something's
done something wrong.
I agree.
We should also try to make fried pickles in the air fryer. I don't know if that'll work, but I like fried pickles.
Yeah.
I don't know if I've had fried pickles. This is exciting.
You've had fried pickles. What are you talking about?
I do. Fried pickles. Oh yeah, fried pickles are delicious. We should do those.
Yes.
It's been a while.
It's been a while. I know we haven't gone out to eat very much.
Tonight.
Apparently, everybody.
Fun got us an air fryer, so.
Nice. Okay, so anyways, anime.
Oh my gosh.
That's a thing we all do sometimes. Kabaneri of the Iron Fortress. Helen.
Yes.
What's this show about?
This show is a story about survival, like a zombie apocalypse type story, but not zombies. But
yeah, that's fair. Like they're kind of like zombies. They're demon zombie things.
Yeah.
With hearts made of iron, or hearts encased in iron.
And, like, I felt like the story didn't really... how do I put it? So, in the beginning, the first episode I thought was very well done.
Sure.
Kind of drifted a little bit after that because I feel like we were on a train that Snowpiercer kind of
it's very Snowpiercer. Yeah.
Yeah. But, like, then we get this antagonist way late. And then that kind of turns everything on its head in a good way, but, like, also, like, a little jarring. So.
Yeah, I think I agree with that. I would say that Biba, like, he's about the second half of the series. I think the second half is vastly weaker than the first half.
I agree.
Yeah. I like the way they handle characters in the first half. Like, Takumi, the, like portly friend character.
He's
really
solid. From beginning to end, he's solid.
I really like him in the first half, and I like his development. And in the second half, I feel like they don't do as much with him, and I feel like his death, it didn't feel good to me. It felt cheap.
Yeah.
Pushed.
That's fair.
Yeah.
That is entirely fair.
I felt like I agree with you for almost all the characters, honestly, because I wanted to see more development from Ayami, and I didn't get enough from her either.
So
Okay.
They have. Okay.
Let's do this. Let's do the technically, not what the story's about, but what happens in the story. So I'll go ahead and just throw it out there. So we are in a world now. Once upon a time, there's a world now where the whole world is seemingly, or most of the world is taken over by these horrible demon zombies. So they get bitten and they have.
Which is weird because they suggest that the zombies need to be fed to survive. So
Which
I'm
is
not
interesting.
sure how they.
So they're like it's like a virus, but it's kind of a curse. And what it does is it turns them into like a horrible zombie that attacks people, tries to bite them, etc., etc. Except it encases their heart in iron, and it makes their heart glow. Which is how you know how to shoot, where to shoot them is because their heart's glowing. And if you play Dead Space, that. So the whole world's taken over by zombies. Iron Heart demon zombies. Except for small cities that are train stations. So they built walls around these train stations and made little cities around them. And so all these little cities are connected by train tracks.
They also suggest that the apocalypse was recent because they talk about how there used to be rice available, and there's sort of an implication like
this is like
this
is like a 20 years after kind of thing.
That was weird too. I felt like the time didn't always add up.
Right.
Timing felt
really.
weird.
Yeah, that's fair. That's
I agree
fair.
with that.
So, okay. So they have these cities. Train tracks connect all the cities, and so what's been happening is these zombies have been breaking in and slowly destroying more and more of the train. They just call them train stations, of the train stations, and the population is turned into zombies, etc., etc. So we start out in train station number 1, which is the hometown of our main character. What is his name? Do we remember what his name is?
Ikoma.
Itoma?
Ikoma.
Okay, so we start off in Ikoma's hometown, and he is building a like pneumatic jet gun or something like that he is going to use to pierce the iron shells of the hearts of zombies because he wants to kill all of them. He has a backstory about why he wants to kill all of them. And so this train comes into town, and they figure out it's called the Iron Fortress, and it has a bunch of very important people on it. The zombies attack. He gets together with the important people. They get on the train. He, of course, gets bitten by a zombie, and then he stops the virus from spreading throughout his whole body because he strangles himself so the virus doesn't get to his head, and he gets to do that for like a couple minutes until the virus cuts it out.
If you are infected with a virus and you're afraid of it reaching your brain, please do not cut off blood flow to your brain.
Do not cut off blood flow to your brain. That is a bad... But that's what he did. And it worked. In anime land, that's fair.
That's fair.
So cuts off the blood flow to his brain. The virus stops, and he is fine. Except now he has superpowers, and he's called a Kabaneri now. Because what are the zombies are called? Kabani.
Kabani.
So the zombies are Kabani, and
replace the I at the end with an ERI, and so it's Kaban-I to Kaban-Air-I.
They have to drink blood though to keep themselves alive.
That's true. So he's not a zombie anymore. He's now a human with the zombie powers, and he has to drink blood instead of eating, or else he'll turn into a zombie purportedly.
We also need to talk about how much of an edgelord Mume is.
That's true. There's a few edgelords. Mume's pretty bad. So basically, then they are going to try to get to the big capital city or something like that, or to some other city to be safe because their train place got wrecked, and they are running away, and they have a bunch of civilians on board, and they're running out of food, and the story ensues. So that is kind of the premise of the show.
There was some really cool character drawings, I guess. I don't know how to say it. So, like, the people who were against Ayami, who were trying to kind of take over the train, I liked how they all had the scarves. I thought that was an interesting choice.
Okay, so these are like the pseudo church looking guys.
Yeah, the a-holes.
All right.
I'm not gonna be able to find pictures of them, but I think.
Yeah, I know, right? This is not gonna happen.
They were the ones in the very beginning who trained the train.
So there's
So they were like the band of goons who were consistently like you can't lead this train. Give us the key. Wait, what? Did anything bad ever happen to them after they seized control of the train?
I think they all died horribly.
Yeah, they did.
Did
Most
they all
of them
die?
did. I think there were a couple who were still alive by the end, but not.
Most of them died horribly, though. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. All right. So, few places we could start.
Okay.
Do you want to lead this?
Who are you asking? Helen?
Both. Anyone. Everyone.
Helen, you have some thoughts about this. You were saying you had some thoughts about this. What are your thoughts about Kabaneri and the Iron Fortress?
I thought it was a really neat concept. I thought that there were some missed opportunities. I was definitely hooked from the first episode. I thought that was really I agree. I felt like it just got weaker throughout. I don't know if that was budget issues or not. It might have been. The opening I was not fond of. The ending I liked, but the opening I was not fond of.
So they do some things in the credits that I like. They have a few interesting audio moments, and there's some, but it's hard for me to like the credits because I absolutely hate the start of the credits where it's like, are you a Kabaneri or a human? I'm neither. I'm a Kabaneri.
Yeah. No, okay, so
that really was a turn on.
That bugged the crap out of me too. I don't know if maybe
I ended up starting to skip them.
I don't know.
And it was kind of like. It was like him saying that was empowering and
sure.
It's kind of frustrating.
Over and over.
I don't know if I think it's a good idea to have somebody speaking words in the intro. Okay, sometimes it works. Avatar: The Last Airbender. That's fair. It's like a once upon a time kind of book monologue, and it's a little lighthearted, so fair. But I don't think there are very many circumstances or instances that I am aware of.
Hard to do it well.
Yeah, where that works, especially if it's one line at the beginning. That it was really irritating me every time it came on. Are you a Kabaneri? Are you a Kabani?
Kabaneri.
That was.
Yeah, it was bad. That part was.
So okay, so so this is an interesting question then. So, you thought it got weaker, the further along, or it felt weaker, perhaps the further on along it got. Why do you think that was?
Go ahead.
I think that they got most of the character development, most of the more interesting character development out of the way in the first half, and in the second half, they. I think that the writer has a good feel for things, but bad comprehension. So he does better on the things he's focused less on. So the side characters, I think, were stronger than the main characters because I don't think he really. I think that. Well, it's I know a person who, when they try to write something, it ends up super cringy and hard to listen to, and when they're not trying, they produce gold. Right. And so it's there's sometimes it's just maybe a hypertension issue or you don't understand it well enough to do it consciously, but you can do it unconsciously.
I like that. Yeah. I like the way you put that.
Yeah, no, I think that's entirely fair. That's an entirely fair way to put it.
I felt like we got moments, like you said, there was old moments, but there was also moments where I felt it shallowed out, it wasn't fleshed out enough, and that bothered me.
Right. Okay. So
I'm okay, I want to know more about.
Right.
She seemed like she was supposed to be a really strong character, and I really wanted, I liked her, but I wanted to know, I I needed that motivation. I needed to know like where people's motivations wasn't always clear.
Sure. Okay, so let's talk about a couple of the major plots, major character plots in this show. So there was obviously the main character, turns into a half zombie. What's it?
Kabaneri.
He wants to kill all of the Kabaneri, or no, what are these zombies called? Kabani. They're so close.
Chobani,
I'm never gonna remember.
Chobani. You say Chobani.
Chobani. Okay, yeah, that's fair. So he wants to kill all the yogurt creatures, and that's kind of his motivation. Am I wrong? Is there something else?
No, that's so he is. I think, if I may go on a tangent.
Oh, please.
I know I don't do this very often.
Of course.
So I think that him and Biba have a similar story, but they're different. They're at different places in the story. I think it's the standard. I think it's sort of the standard like Monster Hunter story, which is the Monster Hunter story is, like, monsters kill your family, right?
Right.
And so you want revenge against the monsters, and so you dedicate your life to the destruction of evil.
Mm-hmm.
And the protagonist Ikoma is constantly like blindly, thoughtlessly charging against anything he sees as wrong or evil, and throwing himself into it, and trying to, at the end, basically he's trying to martyr himself to destroy evil.
Right.
And Biba's doing the same thing, but Biba, like, the thing that happens in the Monster Hunter story is at the end, you either become a martyr, or you get bitten by the monster, and you turn into the monster, which is basically Biba's situation. He's like, I have become the monster, and I'm okay with being the monster if it means I get to destroy the evil. So he's become the thing. He's basically become the horrible, like, tyrant that he's hunting.
I feel like he just wants to watch the world burn.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's what you get to at the end, because you turn into the monster, and it's like there's no differentiation between you and the thing you're hunting. There's also the possibility of like redemption in the Monster Hunter story, like in the Van Helsing movie.
Sure.
And not an anime movie, but like character gets he's bitten by a werewolf, and he turns into a werewolf, and he's okay with becoming the monster if it means he gets to destroy the thing he's hunting. But then he gets redeemed because the love of his life sacrifices herself to turn him back into a human, and the cost of his short-sightedness and his willingness to dedicate his life to revenge is that the love of his life dies, but the movie ends on a happy note because it's like the light's shining on him and heaven's smiling down on him because he's been redeemed and moved away from a life of dedicated to revenge. And I think Ikoma and Biba are both sort of acting out the Monster Hunter story, but Ikoma's doing it from the standpoint of, I want to become a martyr.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm willing to sacrifice myself to destroy the evil, and Biba's doing it from the standpoint of like, I'm willing to become the evil, and I don't care.
Right.
And
I feel like his motivation was even more specific than that, though. He just liked Mumi. He was like, I'm gonna turn her back to being a human.
Well, okay. I feel that felt out of place to me. I also
agree.
think it felt out of place that he survived at the end. I think that the way the story had been building, like, he shouldn't have survived, and I feel like Mumi being there as an excuse for him to do that felt more like the writer justifying his character's actions.
I agree.
Than them being more genuine. Because like, also, you know what happens really early on? There is a moment that it's a good moment, and it should lead to a bunch of character development for him. When he gets shot and thrown off the train,
right?
He gets back up, and Kurusu Kanochi is like, all right, I'm going to sacrifice myself to make sure the train gets away and to protect people, and I'm gonna do it even though I'm probably not gonna survive, and I'm gonna pull the lever. And he starts going, and then Ikoma's like out there being in far less danger because he's like got superpowers. And he's like crying out like, look what you left behind, like, I'm gonna pull this lever just to spite you.
Yeah.
basically, and he's doing the thing that was going to be heroic that Kurisu was going to do, but he's doing it in the least heroic, most detestable way he can, and then he's so like slumped and self-pitying that the other characters have to actually like hook a winch to him and drag him away because he's just like, no, leave me here to die. And I thought I was hoping that would lead to a bunch of character development for Ikoma, and I feel like they just didn't develop Ikoma at all.
Yeah,
I agree.
It was lacking. And maybe it has something to do with, you know, what is it, 13 episodes? Was that it?
12
episodes.
Yeah.
It's not a lot of time to do stuff with. That being said, they didn't do a lot with what they had.
Well, and I feel like the sentimentality was not just. Go ahead.
Me?
Mm-hmm.
Oh no, I was just saying I think the side characters were the stronger characters, and
I agree.
Yeah.
I just felt like the sentimental moments were not just right. Like I felt like I wasn't hooked.
Sure.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Did you feel the same way as me? I think it was like between episode 3 and episode 4. Basically, they're like, the crew doesn't like them, the crew doesn't trust them, and then they resolve that in the next episode. It opens with Mume walking through and everyone being all jolly, and they're like, oh yeah, Mume, you're the guardian of the train, and it's like, you needed to put like 10 weeks later or something before this happened.
Yeah.
It felt really, really rushed.
Yeah.
I do feel like one of the issues that I had over the course of the show is it felt like the writer was pretty good at like overall structuring the overall story.
Yeah.
But like scene for scene, line for line, I thought it was a little weak. Like the character dialogue was not tremendously memorable. The character interactions were not tremendously memorable. There were not too many scenes that were tremendously memorable. It was just like the way the whole thing was put together, like it kind of worked. Like there was definitely a relatively well thought out outline of the whole story.
Yeah.
But like as far as the actual scene for scene writing, that was kind of where it really fell off for me. You know, and maybe you know, had that been a little bit stronger, they could have developed the characters a little bit more through some of the dialogue. But I think probably that's the weakest point for me.
This is a story that I would absolutely trust a good writer to make really, really good.
Right.
Oh
Like,
yeah, absolutely.
It's got stuff going on
you know,
there. And it's got a really solid basis, I think.
Well, and this is interesting because this is funny because it's kind of it's kind of the opposite of what is normally the issue. Normally, the issue is you might have somebody who's pretty good or has a good feel for writing scenes or dialogue or something like that, you know. And if they're not good at anything, they're not good at anything, right? But if they're like pretty good at scenes or dialogue, or you know, the general like jumping into a scene and writing a scene, even if they're not really good at structuring the scene, you know, it can feel okay. But then they never, you know, the big problem is usually no structuring for the rest of the story. Like they don't know what's happening next scene. The scenes, they didn't think about how the scenes work with conjunction to one another. They didn't, you know, plan out what's happening in the future and how that all fits together. So they're just like writing in the scene. So the scene might be good, but the story itself is kind of like the character arcs and all that's kind of messed up. This is a little bit the opposite. It's like the big story is kind of a little bit more well put together, not with respect to the character arcs, but the big stories put together, but like scene for scene, it was very sloppy.
I would like to ask something to see if you guys feel the same way as me. I'm gonna list the 3 characters that I think are maybe the best characters.
Okay.
Yukina, aka Back Muscles.
Totally.
Kurisu, and Kurisu being the guard of Ayame, and Takume. Takume is the portly friend.
Oh yeah. Okay.
I would agree with all of those, actually.
Probably Takume was the best character.
I agree with Takume being the best.
Strongest character.
I liked him as waifu. I'm nominating him, just so you know.
Yeah, I think Kurisu is a character who I really want to like.
Sure.
And they do not develop him. I also think the writer doesn't understand him. Like, I think the writer has a feel for how he should act, but like does not know what that character should be doing. Like, okay, Mandarb.
Yes.
When they wanted funerals, and Ayame was like, we're going to hold funerals, and Kurisu was basically like, how, you're gonna hold funerals? That's ridiculous. Didn't that seem like the opposite of what he should be saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, it seemed directly
It seemed really weird. He
was an interesting character, because he seemed like he could have been a really good balance.
Which is so funny. Like, to me, that's funny. Like, like you said, it felt opposite of what usually is the problem. It's like, I have this world, I have this thing, but I don't know you.
Right.
I feel like the writer had a good feel for what the character should be doing.
Sure.
But then when he was writing it out, he didn't have a representational understanding of what the character should be doing, so he just like couldn't flesh out the character. And the thing is, I think between Ikoma and Kurisu, like, I think there's a really, really good balance there.
I agree. Yeah.
Ikoma is compassion and open-mindedness, and Kurisu is responsibility and responsibility and tradition.
Tradition, yeah.
It's
Tradition.
like, and those are archetypal like things that it's like the in the Supernatural, the television show, the two brothers. It's the same conflict between the two brothers, and that's a really good conflict.
Yeah,
it's like,
works.
one of them's like, we have to plan for the future and we have to do the responsible things, and what would Dad have told us to do? And the other's like, but compassion and be open-minded and like think of new ideas, and they fight. And that's a great struggle.
That's why it stayed on for 15 seasons.
I stopped watching well before that. But...
I did too. I stopped at 11 or 10 maybe.
That's a great archetypal conflict.
Yeah, totally.
I really wanted that to happen.
And the story is set up for it. Like, it's set up for
Yes.
that to be the case, but it just doesn't really seem to materialize over the course of the scenes.
I agree with that.
One more thing. Yukina.
Who's it?
Best back muscles in anime?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Easily.
Oh, yeah.
Easily best back muscles in anime.
Agreed.
If I ever became a train conductor,
She was so bad at it.
I would have to...
We're talking about pink hair lady, right?
Talking about
back muscles.
pink, yeah. Pink hair lady.
Yeah. I like her. She's amazing.
If you ever become a train conductor, you have to take off your overshirt before you start doing stuff with the train. But you need good back muscles, so.
Totally.
But okay, so Kabaneri and the Iron Fortress, interesting, because I feel like we all were a little bit wanting more out of it, because there was a great foundation for a lot of the stuff in the story. There's a great foundation for the characters. The setup was really decent, and I feel like there are good moments in it. There were a lot of good moments, but overall, I think a lot of the character arcs and the character development and the character conflict was a little bit underwhelming. I don't think it really landed in a lot of places. So, that being said, what are the really good things about this show? Because there were a lot of good things. It's steampunk, like straight up steampunk. Like everything is steam, except at the very end where they have radios. All of a sudden, it's like it's all 100% steampunk, and then like 5 minutes before the end of the series, they're just like people with radios, like whoosh, tune in to the something station. That was weird.
Yeah. It's got good novelty.
Yeah.
It's got trains are cool.
That's true.
Cool. Everyone thinks trains are cool.
Steampunk trains are cool.
Very well done. I enjoyed jarring except for that freaking opening line.
Yeah.
So I felt like that was very smooth and very well done.
Yeah. I think the environment, as far as the art goes, like the environments, the train, the characters, they were all pretty well done. I don't think there was a lot of problem with that. And some of the action was pretty good. Although I think I vaguely recall a moment where, directorially speaking, it was very jarring or it was very disjointed. Do you remember that?
Oh yeah, you're
one?
talking about Mume's episode where she's going over to Biba.
Right.
And
Yeah. Okay.
The characters jump around so much,
Yeah.
and it's like
It's super disjointed.
Yeah, and
I agree with that.
Yeah, it's very
It
confusing.
was that's where I was talking about time, because like I felt like there wasn't a good timeline. Like it didn't always make sense.
Right.
Like I'm like, how did he get to that place so fast after this train left him? Like I know he's a zombie, but come on,
it's I think it's one of those things where, you're talking about like him getting to the city.
Yeah, so like when he gets kicked out,
right?
Like there was some time issues there that didn't add up,
and I think
it made it jarring.
There was I think just before that there was some stuff going on where they were moving between the two trains as they were traveling together, and just the way that the scenes were like cut out and shot. It felt really weird because like these people were here, but then all of a sudden they cut to a different place, and those people are all in a different place, but it's like it was a slightly different time, and then this person's over here, and then they're like just the way that the scene's constructed made it very confusing as to who was where, who was doing what, and what exactly was happening. So I think there was one episode that was particularly jarring. They were moving around between trains, but. Outside of that, like the art was really good. Great. I think that was really good with respect to like the visual design of what was going on.
Yeah, they have a good diversity of outfits for the characters.
Yeah, which is nice. Always nice to see.
Cool. Right.
Although there's no way that scarf cuts off blood flow in the usual way.
I don't know if is it that it cuts off her blood flow. I don't know if it cuts off her blood flow.
They kind of said that, but then
they said that. But it's like a little like satin.
Later.
It's like a satin ribbon.
I think they abandoned that after. They were like, man.
Yeah, it's a magic satin ribbon. It's not an issue. Yeah, that was interesting. Yeah, and they also they did this thing too where so they have they inject. It was weird. It's almost science fantasy, right? Because they inject the character with the serum or whatever, and then she turns into a big monster, and she gathers all of very Dead Space, gathers all of the bodies to her and becomes a giant walking creature, and then she can shoot laser beams and stuff. Not laser beams when she collapses, and then she screams and blows stuff up with her voice or something.
Oh,
it's
yeah,
it's like a weird, it's like a random magic power.
Blue telekinesis powers.
Right, yeah, she's just blue telekinesis powers. Wow, it's pretty much just magic. But they try to walk that line between magic and fantasy, or magic and I don't want to call it science.
I don't feel like it's magic. It's more it's fantasy for sure.
Right.
Though.
Also, I learned how riveting works. Riveting is really cool. So you know how in the start they're trying to rivet things, and they're acting like they have rivet guns that just go boop. That's not how riveting works. Riveting is really cool because you know what riveting is. You get a bolt, and it's red hot, and you put it through a pre-done hole in a metal sheet, and someone has an anvil on the other side, and you whack it, and it reshapes the metal on the other side. So it's like you're reshaping the bolt to be big on both sides to rivet things together, and that's really cool because it's like you're using an anvil, but it's not like medieval technology, and that's not how they did in the show.
That's not how they did in the show. These are the fun conversations. We'll be watching a show, and somebody will do something, and somebody will be like, "Wait, that's not how that works."
What?
They don't know how that works. They just put it in the show anyways.
So, yeah, I like back muscles. I think I would recommend this show to most people who watch anime off of the novelty. Off of the it's cool. There's a train. There's steampunk. There's monsters.
Oh yeah, totally. Okay. So
I feel like it's a casual watch for sure.
So okay. So as far as who you'd recommend it to, who if you were to say steampunk,
I would straight up people who watch anime consistently because of the novelty, and it's got a lot of cool things.
Sure. Yeah, that's
and
fair.
a lot of cool concepts.
Yeah,
not fleshed out, but there's good concepts there.
Yeah, no, totally. There's some good conceptual stuff in there. Okay, so who would you not recommend this to?
Somebody who doesn't like zombies.
Somebody who's sick to death of zombies.
So I'm recommending it to people who are already watching a fair amount of anime. If it's someone who doesn't watch much anime, I'd probably pick a different one to recommend to them.
I agree.
If it's someone who regularly consumes, then I feel comfortable being like, slip this in.
Yeah.
It won't be something that you'll be like, this is the best thing ever, but it'll be cool and you'll get new ideas and you'll be happy.
Yeah,
I feel like I could recommend this as a first, depending on what kind of genres they are like.
Yeah.
Like if they're like, oh, I'm like into like that dark stuff, like ooh, yeah. I would be like, yeah, try it out. But I wouldn't say it was like up there. I'd just be like, yeah, it's a casual watch.
Yeah, no, that's very fair. That's probably where I would go with it too. It's fun. It's kind of short, 12 episodes. If you put it at 1.5 speed times speed, then you get through it in a couple hours, a few hours. we watched most of it at normal speed, and then we were running out of time, and we watched like the last 5 or 6 episodes, like probably the last half of it. No, we didn't watch it today. No, I was all kinds of busy today. No, we watched it yesterday. And the day before. Yeah, we didn't do it all in one day, but we could have. But yeah.
Do you guys think Ikoma should have died at the end? It felt like he should have died.
That's interesting. I don't know. I don't know if I'd say I think he should have died.
Him not dying, but like I felt like Woo, he's alive was a little.
Yeah. No, I mean, I was okay with him not dying in the way that at the end of any movie where the protagonist doesn't die, I'm like, I'm relieved the protagonist didn't die.
Sure.
But
so I feel like
it could have gotten cut off sooner.
I think
we could have cut it before we found that out.
Yeah, I think that would have been solid. Yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say I feel like what I wish would have happened is they could have developed his character more in a direction of like redemption, and that he didn't have to die at the end. With the way it went, it felt like he should have died, but I don't think he should have. I think he should have gone in a different direction character wise. I
agree with that entirely. If they'd have developed his character a bunch and given him a redemption arc, that would have been awesome. Because the Monster Hunter story doesn't have to be a tragic story,
right?
And oftentimes, well, I guess Van Helsing is a good example of it being a redemptive story with a happy ending, and then like Dr. Horrible's sing-along blog is a really good example of it being
I love that one.
A non-redemptive story where like he gets what he wants in the end, and it's tragic.
And it's tragic.
Yeah. I think they could have definitely done a redemption thing for him, and maybe it would have been more appropriate if Mume had been saving him instead of the other way around.
Right. Yeah, no, that's fair.
Maybe he could have saved Mume earlier, and then she was coming back to save him.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah. It's one of those things where it could have gone to a couple of different ways. That would be interesting. I think they could have just done it the way they did it. I still feel like they would, I would prefer a redemption story.
I like redemption stories. Redemption stories are good.
Yeah, they're right. They feel good.
Helped flesh it out too.
It's also, I think, I like stories a lot more where there are clear flaws in the protagonist.
Yeah.
But they're still like a good they're still like a good person, right?
Right.
Because you can do a flawed protagonist who's just flawed and they're a bad person, but I like the protagonist striving for the good, full of flaws, and that's fun. Them redeeming themselves. I love that in A Silent Voice. I loved that he was like such a terrible person at the start, and then and it really bringing a story around like that, it really pulls you in, and I love redeemed villains.
And one of the things that one of the things that you want to do with something like a redemption story or something like that is you want to give the character want to make his flaw the thing that is his emotional or psychological flaw, the thing that is stopping him from being better. And so like if you're going to make him a monster hunter, and he's going to be redeemed by that, it's you could say that that's what's happening with the he just wants to kill monsters, although he never really stops wanting to kill monsters.
Yeah, I would say he's specifically because it's not just the Kabani for him. It's
right.
It's really because I think the Monster Hunter story is really about the seeking revenge against evil by the definition of the person who's doing the seeking.
Right.
Because he acts
fair.
just as vehemently against the guards and stuff.
Right. And so if that's going to be his character flaw, and I don't think that's a particularly good character flaw, because I think character flaws should be a little bit more specific and a little bit more personal than that. That's a little too universal. But if his character flaw is that he's single-mindedly going to destroy evil, then the thing that redeems him is when he realizes he has to stop trying to destroy evil. And the way to do that would probably be to instead of trying to destroy evil, try to help build up goodness instead.
I do kind of like the gruff old man Monster Hunter character who still has a burnt teddy bear from their family that they lost, and
totally,
I'll never let it happen to anyone again.
Right, exactly, and that's that's great. But okay, we'll go ahead and wrap up Kabaneri of the Iron Fortress. Waifu, back muscles. 100%. No. Okay, fine. Best girl.
I do really like Takumi's struggling with guilt.
That's fair.
I like people struggling with guilt. That's fun.
I love that he's he's the main character in the very beginning. He's like, why didn't you just do this? And he's like, oh, duh. That was so good. It was such a cute, small moment that I felt really built his character in the very beginning. And I thought that was really cool.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
That was a really nice choice. It was really quick. It was this is who they are to each other. And oh, duh, okay. And I don't know. I just love it until the end.
Oh, yeah.
Who wins best back muscles?
Oh.
There you go.
Back muscles, of course. Train conductor. Without question. And probably of all anime.
I actually liked her character quite a bit, too.
I think in the latter half they do a lot of small things to build up little bits of her character. She's one of the I actually think that in the latter half of the show she's probably, because I didn't really like a lot of the character building in the second half, but that's when they kind of built her up the most.
Yeah.
Yes. Waifu is Takumi. Back muscles is best back muscles.
Yes, that's true. Is there a best girl for this show?
The train.
I'm going to go ahead and say the jet bullet gun.
I could back that.
Pretty much.
I would back that if I knew what he needed to plug it into and where he could plug it in the first half of the show. Because you're like, can he use it? Why can't he use it? Is he using it? Does he need to plug it in? What's he plug it into? Is there something in here?
Yeah.
Is there a socket? Does he need a converter?
Is it out of juice?
The other thing about that, though, is so at first, it's new technology. Oh, I can break hearts. But then, all the other people have that. Their guns.
Right.
It took her 3 shots, and it took her 3
right.
Oh, yeah, no.
In the first couple episodes, but then by the end they were just oh, dead.
Yeah.
Well, he upgraded their jet bullet guns.
Let's also establish that is a classic example of just terrible sidestepping of like they switch from one episode to the next, and it's like, oh, aren't you all happy now that you have jet bullet guns and everyone has them? And then it's like, oh yeah, that sure is great. By the way, thanks for upgrading our swords with Kabani hearts.
Yeah.
And he's like, sure thing.
Sure
friend.
thing, pal. Yeah.
It's like they were enemies 5 minutes ago.
Biba, whatever, Biba.
Biba.
He already had a sword like that. So like, what?
Yeah. Well, it's and it's also like, if he came to that conclusion that quickly, why haven't more people come to that?
Yeah, this war has been going on for a while, I presume.
Yeah, and then it turns out Biba has it, and it's like, shouldn't a lot of people have this? Or I don't know.
It seemed a little, it didn't
also,
seem,
How much does bamboo cost, really?
Not very much.
I guess they had to buy whole bamboo plants.
Does bamboo kind of grows really quickly?
It's more of like a reed, right?
I love my bamboo.
Do you hang wishes from it?
I have not.
What's up with that?
I think you should find out when the appropriate holiday is and get a little pig moon cake to celebrate and hang wishes.
I've actually heard about that, and I've seen it in several where they do that. They hang little wishes off bamboo. Or cherry blossoms. They've done it with the cherry blossoms.
That makes sense. That makes sense.
Interesting. All right. Any final thoughts on Kabaneri of the Iron Fortress? Helen.
It was a fun watch.
Say what?
I had fun.
You had fun?
It was a fun watch.
It was fun. It was fun. Yeah, it was not. It was far from the worst thing I've ever seen. Far from it. It was kind of fun. We enjoyed it for the most part.
I did skip the opening after a while.
I skipped the opening after the first one. I was like, nope. Yep. And then it would come on again. And I'm like, oh, no, skip.
Nope.
Bad. Bad. Final thoughts.
It was also painful because the opening was bad at the start, so you wanted to ignore the rest of it. God, it's too bright. There's too much white. I like it. It's fun. It's a good writer could do a lot with it. And it's got some novelty, and the novelty is good because it stands out.
Charles said it's a New Year's thing to hang it on.
It's time! Do it quickly before it's too late!
No, it's way too late. We're like 16 days in, man. Also, I don't have any bamboo.
And Darb, hang me one.
Okay, I will hang you one on my beautiful bamboo. It's huge. This thing's gotten freaking...
Yeah, that's big. It's like...
They gave it to us at the Anime Con a year, 2 years now ago.
Oh, you wacky kids. All right. So those are our thoughts.
What are we watching next?
What are we watching next? That's a great question. Does anybody have an answer?
How far are we into winter of this season? This season.
Like the anime season?
Just started, so we're like nothing. Oh, no. So we could do something from last season.
Yeah.
From last season?
I'm digging this season though. Oh my gosh. We're getting made in Abyss soon.
Oh, I'm so excited about
that. There's so much that's like good that's coming. So we hope it's as good as we've been anticipating. But yeah, I'm excited for this season. Oh my gosh.
Was there anything last season, fall?
Jujutsu Kaisen. Jujutsu Kaisen was good. I wouldn't mind rewatching that.
What is Jujutsu Kaisen?
Jujutsu Kaisen is a kind of a Monster Hunter story, but this protagonist, he gets attacked, and he just wants to protect his friends, and so he's dumb and he's feeble and he's not strong at all, and he almost dies, and he digests part of a god. Sort of.
Is that right?
Yeah, in the very first episode, he eats a finger, and it's disgusting. And then he gets superpowers, sort of. But it's also gonna kill him, so kind of cool.
Bad. Do you have any other suggestions?
I don't know. That sounds cool.
I like it.
I think fingers becoming like sacred relics is always really funny.
Let's do it. I like it. What was it called? Jujutsu Kaisen.
Jujutsu Kaisen.
Perfect. Jujutsu Kaisen. Well, that is what we will be watching for next time then.
Yay!
What day is that going to be? That's going to be Saturday, the 30th of January.
Woo-woo!
Alrighty. And it's on Crunchyroll. Everybody, it is on Crunchyroll.
Mm-hmm.
So watch it on Crunchyroll and not on shady anime websites.
Although shady anime websites will provide you a better service.
They will. Which is unfortunate.
You can even download the episode on some of them, which is just like...
Actually, Crunchy lets you download the episodes.
They're letting you download? That's good.
Are they becoming...
They're innovating, finally!
Is it because they have to compete with all the shady anime websites?
Probably.
Oh my god.
But I know Sony recently bought Crunchy, so...
Sony did?
Sony did, yeah.
Interesting.
That is interesting.
I wonder if they're getting nervous about all those PlayStation games that are not selling. Anyways, we won't go into that. Well, so join us next time, guys. It's going to be Saturday, the 30th of January. It'll be the 30th of January again. Thanks for coming. Thanks for watching and hanging out. We're going to be watching Jujutsu Kaisen on that day. And thanks for joining us for this. Bye-bye, everybody.
Have a great day. Wash on, wash on.
Is that how it works?
I don't know.
How do you get
wax on, wax
some
off?
macros or something? I
have a whiteboard. I use whiteboards.
You're very, very sophisticated.
Troa said bail. Yeah, bye.